My friends, it is time to introduce you to a recipe that I think I've been making since I was about 12 years old. These are cocktail meatballs, and if you've never tried them, they're basically beautiful meatballs coated in a rich and sweet and sticky sauce that is unashamedly made with Campbell's tomato soup. My aunt used to have this cookbook that had all these recipes that were from the back of a packet, and apparently in the 1950s, this recipe was on the back of the packet of a Campbell's tin of soup. So we're going to start off in a pan with a little bit of butter, and we're going to melt that down and saute off some onions. Now I've got some green peppers and some onions, half of which are going into the meat and half of which I'm going to saute off in the pan to make a really nice sauce. Once that butter is melted down, I'm going to get straight in there with some nice finely chopped onion. In alongside that, we've got some green peppers going in here. You do want to make sure that these are nice and finely chopped. I'm just going to saute these onions and the green peppers just until they're nice and tender. So take your time with this and slowly cook it down. I'm going to hit it with a little bit of some salt and a touch of black pepper. Give that a good stir through. And while these slowly cook out, let's talk meatballs. I have some minced beef here, and you want a really nice ratio of fat to meat. So to this, we're going to add our onions straight in alongside meat. Now, normally I would be quite a meatball snob and I wouldn't want too much added to it, but this is a retro recipe, so stick with me. We're going in there with a few different ingredients. To this, the other half of the green pepper goes in. I'm going to hit it with a generous amount of pepper and a good pinch of salt as well. And for that little kind of hit of retro classic ingredients, condiment that everyone has, a bit of Tabasco sauce, a good glug of that goes in there. You want a bit of a spicy bite to these meatballs. And then it's just a case of getting in there with some breadcrumbs, and one whole egg goes in here just to bind it together. So the best thing you can do at this point is get your hands in there and get mixing. Come on in. You're going to take that meatball mix, now that it's ready, and just make it into almost slightly smaller than golf balls. You're kind of looking, I want to say a ping pong ball size is what you're after here. So just roll these and make sure you have nice, even balls. Okay, this is my last little meatball. This is now going to go under the broiler for about 5 minutes, and then I'm going to flip them and make sure they get a nice brown, even color all the way around the surface of these beautiful meatballs. Now, while they are cooking away in the oven, we're going to go back to our sauce and have a look at how beautiful these onions have turned. Exactly what we're after. So, to this mixture, I'm going to add in our secret ingredient, not so secret ingredient anymore. It's a tin of condensed tomato soup. This is ridiculous, but it is so good, so stick with me. Our soup goes straight in. I feel so ashamed making this recipe, but I promise you it works out and it's so good. So give that a good mix through. We're gonna ump up the flavor of this tomato soup by adding a tablespoon or so of Worcestershire sauce. I'm gonna add another little squidge of Tabasco sauce, so a little blast of that. Just because there's quite a lot of sweetness in there, we want to balance out that with a bit of acidity. So about a tablespoon of white vinegar going in here. Then it's a teaspoon of Dijon mustard. So the great thing about this recipe is that quite a lot of the ingredients, bar the beef, are stuff that you can have to hand. So if you ever want to crack out the cocktail meatballs, you probably have the ingredients. So we've got 2 tablespoons of brown sugar going in here. We're going to just mix that through and let this come up to a simmer for about 5 minutes. This is looking pretty good now, and it doesn't actually need that much of time. You just want to simmer it till it kind of thickens up together. So I'm going to check on my meatballs, tongs at the ready, and let's go turn some meatballs. Look at those beauties. The color is perfect on these. So I'm just going to flip them over now at this point so that I have a nice brown color on all sides. And they're going to need another few minutes just to cook all the way through. Right, we have beautifully cooked meatballs, and the sauce has reduced down. This is quite an intensely sweet and salty sauce, so you don't want too much, you just want that hit of flavor. So while this is still on the heat, I'm actually going to turn it off. I'm going to get all these beautiful meatballs straight into that sauce, and then it's time to eat. Now it's just a case of tossing these gently through that ridiculously rich and sweet tomato sauce. Okay, this is pretty good. I'm gonna serve these out now. I just love how like ridiculously glossy and red these look. You can serve them out as little canapes with cocktail sticks, which is exactly what I'm gonna do. The last little cocktail stick in there, and I've saved one in the pan just for me. Oh my goodness. Oh man. It is ridiculously retro, ridiculously kitsch. But I'm sorry, that is a platter of meatballs that you can be proud of, and I promise you, make these meatballs and they will be devoured. If you want the recipe, I will leave it in the box below. It'll be over my website. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, leave us a comment letting me know what your favorite kitsch and retro recipe is. And until then, my friends, I'm gonna devour these by myself in the corner alone. Goodbye. Good. I was so hot.